Okay, I don't know if you just saw my last video I did. It's about how Google profits from your pain. I'm sure they're not out to hurt you. I mean, that's not their motive. Their motive is to make money, and what happens is it hurts you. Now, here's a typical thing that I believe that's really wrong. Because it's the average person doesn't realize what's going on when you search for something. Like you put in debt relief. Okay, if you put in debt relief now, okay, look at what you get: 133 million websites, 133 million websites about debt relief. Okay, now see, this is how Google makes money: is that they make money if they put a website there that you're going to go to that you're going to give somebody money. Okay, see, what I'm trying to do is educate people. Hey, there's websites out there that give you money for your problem, not take your money for your problem. But see, they don't advertise, so they don't give Google any money. Okay, here's are the people that give Google money because they're going to get money from you. Now look at the first one right here. It's called freedomdebtrelief.com. Okay, now that's the top place. Okay, and it's a .com. And I look through the first 3 pages. They're all companies like this that want to get money from you. Okay, the number one person. So that means they're paying a lot of money to be there. Okay, look what happened. Okay, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, that's the government, and the Federal Trade Commission just fined them $20 million for ripping off customers. Okay, so here's a debt credit company who's number one. Actually, they're saying the biggest in the country now. Are ripping off customers. They're a scam. And that's just amazing to me. And you as a consumer, us, we don't know. I mean, well, I don't know the difference. They look nice and they know how to pretend to look nice or whatever. And you don't know the laws and whatever. Who the hell knows all this stuff? And that's why, to me, you're safer to stay away from anybody who has a .com, because they're in it to make money. That's their first objective. And bless their soul, we're all in need to make money to live, and that's important. But look at, but they start, stretching the laws and whatever to the point where they got to pay 20 million, actually 25 million as a total, to people for scamming people. And you read the article. It's an article in the Post today. Actually, or maybe it's yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, Sunday, July 14th, Washington Post. Look for this headline, because you'll see that in the past week, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau reached a settlement with Freedom Debt Relief, which is the company, while not admitting guilt. See, they don't admit guilt, but they pay the fine. So obviously they're guilty, $25 million or whatever it is. The Federal Watchdog Agency alleged in the lawsuit, they say alleged because they didn't go to court and prove them that they were scamming people. So they have to legally say alleged, but they paid a fine of $25 million. Oh, we didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, bullshit. Because they violated the Federal Trade Commission's telemarketing sales rule by charging people in advance for debt relief services, which is illegal. That's why the people, I'll show you, don't charge you anything. They're not allowed to. They're already getting grants to the government to help you for free. The Consumer Finance Protection Bureau further said the company broke a second law, the Consumer Finance Protection Act, when it charged debtors without actually settling their debts. The agency alleged that Freedom charged fees, sometimes thousands of dollars, even when borrowers negotiated the settlements on their own with their creditors. See, this is, you get tied up with people after money, and all they see is dollar signs, and they'll figure out any way that to get that. Additionally, the agency argues that the company hid from consumers the fact, now this is an important fact, the fact that several major banks have standing policy never to work with debt settlement companies. So if you're trying to get out of debt, no, you can't use a debt settlement company because the banks won't work with them. And then it'll show later in this article that becomes very important. Freedom also instructed consumers who are negotiating their own settlements to expressly mislead the creditors when asked if they're enrolled in a debt settlement program. See, so they're telling their customer to lie to the bank that they're enrolled in a program because then they won't deal with you because they're enrolled in a program, so they won't settle. They won't take a cut in what you owe. And that's amazing, isn't it? In response to the settlement, Freedom said it's working with the Bureau to address these issues. In resolving the case, we have agreed to make some changes. or be out of business. This is how debt settlement debt relief services program actually works. The firm promises to work on your behalf, claiming they are better at negotiating a deal to reduce your unsecured debts, such as what you may owe on a credit card. Okay, consumers are often told to cease communication with their creditors. Typically, consumers are also advised to stop any payments that may be making and instead put the money in a bank account with the intention of the debt settlement company offering the creditors a lump sum offer for less than it was owed. So what they're trying to do, the settlement company says, okay, don't stop paying your credit card debt, right? Stop, don't do that. Put it in a bank account, and I'm going to use that as a settlement offer, to do. But what happens to the consumer, they get screwed doing that. You get screwed. Okay. One of the biggest problems with debt settlement programs is that they encourage consumers who are managing to keep up with the payment to default on their debt. Okay, and so when you default, so you're keeping up payment, and the settlement company says, don't pay anymore. So what happens, the debtor already in default are told that they need to make payments into the bank account. So they too can accumulate enough cash to pay off lump sums. Okay, that's what I just said. The strategy makes sense on paper, right? Creditors or collection companies they hire can spend a lot of time trying to recoup what they owe, so they may be willing to accept a lump sum. So in other words, right, so the credit card company, the debt settlement company said, okay, don't pay them at all, okay? Stop paying. Put that money over here that you're paying them, and I'll use that to bargain with the company. Okay, two problems happen, is that the credit card companies are told not to, the banks aren't going to deal with with settlement companies, so you have that problem, and then you're piling up late fees and all these other things that you're winding up further in debt that you never even thought. And without the debt relief people, you wouldn't have that extra debt. So they're creating extra debt for you. Plus, you got to pay them all these fees and all this kind of stuff. So they will, and so they say, oh, it makes sense because you have a lump of money, and I say, hey, take this and we'll be square. And it won't happen, and you get screwed. But for those desperate to get out of financial hole, working with a debt settlement company can make the situation worse. You hear that? Working with a debt settlement company can make the situation worse. When you stop making payments to your creditor as a part of a debt settlement plan, you are likely to trigger penalties, higher interest rates, and other fees. So while you wait, sometimes for years, to see if the debts can be settled for less than you owe, your debt burden actually grows bigger. Unfortunately, as the case with some Freedom customers, many creditors may refuse to negotiate with the debt settlement companies and instead pursue legal action. So in other words, they wind up, they won't deal with your debt settlement company, and they take you to court, and your debt is bigger than it would be if you didn't have the company, and you have to pay the company too. Debt settlement also isn't cheap. Okay, here's what the Freedom Press fees typically range 18 to 25% of the total debt amount. Okay, so you owe $100, you have to pay them $25. So you're going further in debt. That means you need to weigh the fees you pay with the growth in your debt, because this might offset the savings you may realize. Additionally, many people can't keep up making the payments to build up a lump sum. Okay, here's a quote. Debt settlement and similar programs offered by companies like Freedom often do more harm than good and turn out to be a waste of money. So says Andrew Pizor, an attorney with the National Consumer Law Center. Okay, consumers should talk to their creditors directly and do their own debt settlement negotiations, or they should talk to qualified consumer bankruptcy attorneys, and also you could get help at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. They have people all over the country that they put on, they give grants to help you with this. So you don't have to go to a credit settlement company. You go to these nonprofit organizations to do that. As a whole, debt settlement industry has been plagued for decades with shady practices and outright scams to take advantage of consumers distressed over the debt load. You know, says this professor at the University of Illinois College of Law. People need to be very careful when choosing a debt relief provider. If you want a low-cost debt relief, I suggest you get help from a nonprofit credit counseling agency. That's what these are. Go to HUD.gov, HUD.gov. These are all approved by the government. They already get grants to solve that kind of problems for you and work out, you know, the best deal you can. You go to these people, see, if you put in debt relief in Google, here's what you get. You get all those companies that are not nonprofits and everything that just want you. And there's one in here in the first 3 pages that's a .org. See, most of them are, all of them are .coms. There's one .org, and you go to that website, and they're just hiding. That's a veil for all these other .com companies to get money off you. That's why a rule of thumb. I mean, sure, maybe there's some people that, you know, do this legitimately and are fair about it, but it doesn't look that way to me. They're very few, and they're going to be hard. How are you going to be able to tell? You know, that's what I mean. It's too hard to tell. So if you're not sophisticated enough to even tell, you know, 1 out of 100 of these people are legitimate, it's just not worth a chance. You know, read that article here in the Washington Post. Go to the HUD counseling offices, and I have a, you know, if you're a member of Lesko Help, I'll give you a free report. There's a 2019 How to Get Out of Any Debt Help for Free. So it's all the government programs that get you out of any kind of help. I'll send you this report for free. If you're not a member, you could pay $20. That's what I charge for it. But members get it for free at Lesko Help. And how to get out of credit card debt, how to get out of student loan debt, how to get out of IRS debt, how to get out of business debt, all these things. See, if you go on the internet and look for this, all you're going to get are people that are motives or, you know, are the scams you're going to run into 9 times out of 10. Because look at the biggest scammer in the student debt is #1 on Google. The biggest scammer in consumer debt is #1 website on Google. Now, that should tell you something about using Google to try to solve problems. If you want to spend money problems and get scam solving problems and whatever, fine, use Google. But if you know that this is what's going to happen, then how to be very careful, you know, and that's what it is. So that's what I'm trying to do with Lesko Help, is have one source for consumers in America that every website you get help with for free. Every website in that gives you money, not takes your money. Because other places you go, it's obviously you're going to get, the scammers know how to work the system to get money, not to help you. They spend 24 hours a day helping you. To me, it seems like a side gig. All their energy and work in life is turned out how to use Google to get your money. And Google wants their money too, because they're going to pay for that ad or whatever. So the whole system is trying to make people money. And you're an afterthought. You know, who wants to be an afterthought? You want to date somebody who that you're an afterthought in their life? No, you want to be the most important thing in their life, right? That's what life is about: being important and somebody helping you in life, not somebody just using the shit out of you. And that's what we have to be careful of by living in a capitalist society. Sure, there's a lot of good parts about it, but you got to realize what's bad about it and how to use it and how to protect yourself because of that. Okay? So says me, and I'm wrong too. So be careful.